So tonight's a special night. Thank you guys for tuning in to Pathways to Abundance. And every Monday we get together and talk about the skills necessary for us to grow huge geo organizations to create the life of our dreams. And last week we began our discussion on finding people. And there's different ways that people go about finding people, but there's no way to build a huge organization unless we learn how to do it. So tonight we're going to talk about finding people via booths. That's at health fairs and job fairs and business fairs. And there's nobody better than the two people who are going to host our call tonight. Sue Gronberg and Ming Lovejoy are going to tell us all they know about how to create a successful.
Sue, do you want to start? Do you want to do the initial exhortation?
Well, sure, I'll get started and you can jump in. Especially this last year, booths have been, one of my favorite ways to find people. And, John, you kind of saw us in action with Dawn there too in Las Vegas. And it's just a super great place to meet people in a very conversational way. And it's exciting. You never know who you're going to meet, even though you think you're going to be at a booth for a specific kind of event. But I know Ming loves doing booths as well because the excitement is usually very high already before you get there. Ming?
Well, I'm going to say I love to sponsor a bunch of people. That's one thing I love to do, and I know what makes it easier to do that is to get myself in front of a lot. I've been doing this a long time. Of course, I do warm network and things like that, but I have to say that booths and expos are actually some of my favorite ways to be able to, with fabulous and high energy, share geo-wellness with a bunch of people. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And so it's booth and expo in, I think we put 5 simple steps, and I'm hoping that we actually have 5 simple steps. So
I think, Ming, it's actually going to end up being 6.
I think we had it at the end. So anyway, one of the things I want to say about this is, first of all, just to remind everybody that we do 3 things in GEO. We invite, we present, we help people see the different puzzle pieces, and we follow up. And of course, we also sponsor, and then we launch, but this is really inviting, presenting, and follow up. That follow-up, including sponsoring, those are really the 3 main things we do. One of the wonderful things about booths is that they actually allow us to do all of those almost at one time. So I'm going to raise your hand if you've ever sponsored somebody at a booth or expo, if you're out there. So, and I'm sure there have been or been sponsored, like John said, at booths or expos. So that's really one of the things that's so key, is that we can actually, with hands-on, with speaking, with getting to know them, building relationship, product demonstrations, with all of the visuals we have there, we can actually transfer a lot of information, and they can also feel our energy as well. So love booths, love expos. Why don't we run and get to the next slide? Or Sue, did you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think let's just get to the next slide. And
okay. So what we wanted to talk about is, what are the best booth and expo opportunities, local and ones we can travel to. And one of the key things I do want to emphasize is find some and do them every year, or do them every period if you have, something going on. I know for me, some of the best have been, a sports event, a World Cup qualifying horse event in our area, our home and garden showcase every year, our health fairs locally, things like that. These have just been some of, my favorite. Sue and I have traveled over the last several years to, we're just starting now with Kedzie and Carol Gutierrez, the American Holistic Nurses Association annual conference. We do the Integrative Healthcare Symposium. So I want you to think local and then think travel. So basically, businesses, job opportunity events or business expos are great. Professional organizations, like especially I love Home and Garden Show. I think there were some other ones as well. It can be other sort of professional organizations that are putting on events, health expos, networking opportunities, anything that's special interest, specifically if you're into it, if it's car racing or, half marathons or racing or, any kind of local Huckleberry Days or fitness or sports events, those are good too. Fundraising events where they are actually using or actually have exhibitors and things like that. Those can be great because you've got people in a sort of jolly mood. And often they're related to health or quality of life type nonprofits, fairs, music events. Sue, do you want to comment on any of these?
I do. I just want to say all of these are great categories, and I would just suggest that don't second guess a particular event. Call and try to find out, who the organizers are and see if they are welcoming vendors. It might surprise you. So, and then you get your foot in the door, especially if it's an annual event. And so that's just my suggestion. Don't pre-guess.
Oh, yeah, don't. And I think that's a great one. One of the things I do is I actually always ask if there is another Gia Wellness booth, especially if we're traveling somewhere across country. Sometimes many places they don't allow, duplicate booths of the same business. So, I want to find that out locally as well. That way either we team up or however that can work. So just something. So should we move on to the next slide?
Yep.
Thank you, John. Okay, Sue, you want to hit this?
I think this is really important, and one of the things that it will tie into is like use your Google. Search out your regional events and put in those categories when you're searching. So you don't actually just have to get on the phone and start guessing. Actually, there's a lot you can find online just by searching. And when you do find a place or an event, it's really important. It might seem really exciting for you, but it's really important and business-wise good to vet the opportunity by asking these questions, because the event, if you just decide to put your money on the event and go, you might find that it didn't pan out the way you thought it would. So it's important to know from the vendor or the event coordinators and get a phone number or email them and find out the number of attendees that are expected. And what is the demographic? Who's attending the events? This can really give you some clues as to whether it's really a good fit for you or not. And, are there competing events in the same neighborhood at the same time that could really dilute the attendance for you as a vendor? And this is a great one, and I know Ming loves this one, because if you find out, are there speakers? You might find that there's someone actually speaking that would be a good fit for bringing the GIA information to the people who are attending the event, but also find out if there's a speaking opportunity for you. Ming, do you want to address any of that?
Yeah, I think one of the things I want to encourage everyone out there to be willing, because, to put it out there, some of these have several stages, some of the health and wellness expos or mind, body, spirit expos or things like that. Or, I think Linda was speaking at one. This last year, I can't remember where, I think it was in actually the area. And I think Karen Knott and Brenda Sarniana and maybe some had a booth. But really, there may be several stages, and you can put in an application and just go for it. That's what Sue and I did originally, and that's how we got ourselves on stage. So and then it became something we could do. So I just want to encourage everyone to really feel that if you don't feel fully qualified, there's a lot of help and support to get there. And sometimes the talks are only 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes there may be 40, 45, in which case you could even do a webinar or something that's already, from Gia Wellness that's already made, but things like that. So just this is an incredible way to also get an audience. Sue?
Yeah, Ming, I just want to share the story that that how you and I discovered that by default is
Yeah.
that we were actually doing a very huge event in Chicago, and Alfred was supposed to be one of the speakers, and the weather made him grounded.
It's a tornado.
It was a tornado. It's true. And we got a call from Alfred and telling us that he wasn't going to be able to be there and we were going to have to do the talk. And we were really nervous about it, but when we pulled it off, it really drove people to our booth. Yeah. And this is really something that would make a big difference to give you even a bigger presence at an event. So I highly suggest to try and do it and get comfortable wanting to do it. So another thing that we really need to find out is, what is the duration of the booth? Is it a couple hours? Is it a day? Is it a weekend? Because that could really influence, the cost effectiveness of doing a booth. Sometimes there's special early bird prices that you can get in for a lot less if you ask and you're on it ahead of time. And another big question to ask is, are there any advertising opportunities? Sometimes they have program booklets or flyers that they put out, and you can put together a really nice advertising. And of course, sometimes corporate helps with the graphics if we need to, but there's so many of you out there are so talented. It's not hard to do, but it really does add to driving people to your booth. Ming?
Great. And one little thing I would just say is in vetting, and this is maybe a slightly more advanced or technical than what we have to do here, but one of the things is if you are considering traveling and going to a booth, just check out, make sure that where the exhibitor hall is, that there is traffic. We go every year, and this is where I met Dagmar Fleming, and that was at eWomen. And actually the year we met Dagmar, truthfully, there was very low attendance because the exhibit hall was quite far piece from upstairs, and there weren't a whole lot of reasons for people to come through the exhibit hall. Of course, Dagmar was enough reason to be there. And Sue, I know Sue was there with me, and she did some great sponsoring as well. But just some of these things to know, because you can also sometimes say a few things. Others, just the speakers are sometimes, you want to make sure that there's enough hours that the exhibit hall is open and things like that. So that's maybe slightly more detailed, but those things make a difference if you're going to be traveling a long distance and incur costs like like staying in a hotel and things like that. Now, what I do want to say too about doing booths out of town is that first of all, there are really some tax opportunities affiliated or associated with this. Take advantage. And very often what I've found actually in this last year, my husband figured this out, is actually the per diem when I go to certain cities is often higher than I actually spend. And you're actually able to deduct the full per diem allowance for food and for lodging. So there can be some, wonderful sort of tax benefits as well, because obviously these are tax deductible expenses. You want to always keep that in mind. So anyway, that was a couple details. Sue, is there anything about this, or should we move on?
I think we should jump off and go to the next slide, John.
Yep. Okay. This is just be prepared, and what we really tried to do here is kind of simplify for everybody a larger, sort of more complex, detailed sheet that we have that's a full page long that we will make available to people who really want to know. It did need to be updated, so we just kind of updated here. Number one, product display. Less is more. Feature the GIA highlights. Use what you have. Key things for us we found are the eye water, a pendant for testing, for pendants, if you want pendants for display, testing, the demos, also cell guard, universal guard, home harmonizer, smart meter defender is really popular one these days. Definitely Cleanse and I Thrive. So one of the things we found from doing booths over the years is if we have a ton of products, it's just too confusing and it feels like people, it can be too much and too overwhelming. But really having just a couple products from each featured category allows you to have a display that's very attractive, that doesn't feel jumbled, and then that really engages people. So promotional materials, product, and eye water brochures, and we've got new product brochures. Something I call, this is really a key feature for me now, and that is the Inspired Wellness brochure and the price list with the 10-10-10 ARO stapled together. Absolutely key. And there are some other supporting, documents and things that I think some people out there use. And with promotional material, I think we talked about handouts, like the First for Women article with featuring Sue Gronberg, Discovery Report, maybe CDs, DVDs, things like that. But really some of your favorite promotional materials that people can take with them. And of course, make sure they've got your, your markings and contact information on there. Business cards and name tag. Sue, Robert, and I think, Stu, I don't know if I still have the artwork for it, but we do have a couple there. We've had name tags made. You can get them made usually from your local office supply store. They're like $8, I think, and maybe take maximum of a week to get back. But you could have the Gia logo in your name. Of course, have your business cards. Dress for success. Just dress like, just I don't need to say anymore. Just, look nice. Handouts, like we said, First for Women, Discovery Report, some of these things. Banners and table posters. So really, one of the things is we really don't want people daunted, feeling like you need a ton of stuff, because just your presence, even with a table with some, some posters, is going to still be attractive, especially when you're displaying the Gia products in a nice way. But for those of us who are, more interested in and are really sort of interested in looking at sort of investing in our business, there are banners and table posters that are not hugely expensive that are available, and Gia Wellness has produced some of them. So banner artwork, what we call the Truth About Cancer poster. These are available in Gia University, and we just want to say, and I think Bilby has just posted this artwork in the files section of the Gia Wellness Lifestyle page under files. That is the artwork you would need, and I think his order sheet, if you want to order directly from him. I'm going to tell you something that Bilby has produced that I haven't found anywhere, is literally these sort of 12 by 18 posters that are made out of PVC, so they don't bend, they don't break, they don't mar, and they're fabulous, and I think they're like $25 each, so I'll just say that. Create your checklist. Just make sure you've got a checklist so you don't forget things that day. You may want to take water for Operation Hydration. You may take water with cups and things like that. Tester pendant, a demo, cell guard, things like that. And absolutely, you need some way to capture your potential teammates' contact information and be able to take notes on them. So what we've done is there's a yes, tell me more. Or yes, it's not yes, tell me more. It's actually yes, I want to make a difference. We changed the languaging. Just posted it in the file section of the Gia Wellness Lifestyle page. It's actually called Yes, I Want to Make a Difference. They're quarter-page sheets, so you can cut them in quarters, print them out. Where you can take notes when you're talking to somebody. They can fill it out. They can fill out their information, and it's actually a checklist on what they're most interested in. Also, there's an app. I shouldn't say it's an online app. It's an app called Sign In, and I've used this, Sue. I think you're the one who told me about it. You can actually do this with an iPad where somebody signs in and gives you their contact information. It goes directly to you. So that's another thing as well. Something we didn't put here, but you could maybe use it, is it's a half-page wireless lifestyle survey that comes on a little half sheet, and you can put these on the small 6x9 clipboards or 5x7 clipboards. And that's a way to engage people as well. Sue, did you have anything to say about that before we move?
No, I just think keep in mind that that last piece of getting the contact information is really, really is critical. And to not just, even if you just write down what the person looked like, what they were wearing, to jog your memory. Because if you talk to that many people in that short a period of time, I guarantee you're not going to remember everybody just by name. So it's really important to do that when you're following up, which we're going to get to here in a minute, a little bit, that personal connection is still there, so you can remember. So I think that's critical.
And that is great. Whatever you can say, you could say bright green shirt or teal, teal thing, or, whatever that is, blonde lady, you could something like that. At the same time as you can do, mom of 6, husband just lost to her, his job, or, chiropractor, looking for, solutions, whatever these things are. Just make sure that the better, the more you write, the better it is, especially if you can. And this is, if you have enough time, you can say tested with the, did product demo with the blah, 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 smiley face or something like that. So, okay. On to the next slide, John, please. We're going to move right along here. Yes, I just saw the note from Laura Ersfeld. We'll post those wireless lifestyle surveys. There's a long one that's a 3-pager. This was actually passed along by Carol Gutierrez. It was actually created by someone else who I think she credits in it. That, and then there's a little half-pager. Laura will get those up on Geo Wireless Lifestyle. I want to say by tomorrow morning, because right after this, I've got 3 kids coming for dinner. So, okay, Sue, you want to go here?
Okay, so, this is really important at the event, now you're all prepared. So, you don't have to, be worried about where things are. You already got that in place, so you can really be present. And let's see, we got another message coming up there. So you want to be present and interested in other people. And that requires a good mindset, a heart set, and intention to build relationships and grow your team. And this is you being you and sharing Gia, because, Ming says it often. She'll say it to me. She'll say it to everybody. You are enough, and you are who your prospect needs. And so it's important for you to bring presence and be interested in who they are, and listen when we're talking with people in conversation. Listen for their needs and wants, and this will help you be able to develop a relationship where you can connect the geodots. And so in that process, you want to be sure you're cultivating your awareness. You're not just necessarily standing at a booth waiting for somebody to come by, because there are times when you're at a booth and there's a lot of people often speaking workshops or listening to speakers, and there's people milling around. And so keep your awareness level high as you're watching who is in your sphere of your personal arena, so that you can watch. I mean, lots of different things can come up. They could be talking about and you're in earshot and they're talking about something that's happening in their lives. I mean, it is purposeful eavesdropping. But if you're in earshot and they walk toward you, you've already got that plugged in about that person. Or if they look extremely stressed out. These are things that you need to be aware of, and just plug it in. You could be wrong, but keep your awareness levels up around who is in your personal arena. Ming?
I think that's great. And one of the key things, because I think and I know I did it a lot. I hosed people down with a ton of information and they'd walk away, I think, with their eyes rolling around in their head. Now, so what's really, really important is that it's not really what you know, It's how you make someone else feel. So when you are present with them and you, first of all, have tuned into some of these clues, you've asked questions, you've observed dynamics. I mean, you know, whatever that is, whatever the dynamic is you're seeing, just engage with this person. And what we're going to do is go next. The next slide, we're going to talk about how you, you know, kind of what to say. But I really want, this is just the foundation. Okay, so connecting the dots, helping your prospects discover value. So you're at your booth, what do you do now? So you prepared mentally, emotionally, physically, all this. One of the things to do is ask engaging and leading open-ended questions. My favorite one to ask is when somebody kind of pauses and looks at something, I'd say, you look curious. What's caught your attention? And they often say, well, what is this water? What is that, you know, baby thing? Or, well, I'm really concerned about this because my teenager sleeps with her cell phone, or whatever, or, you know, I've heard about this, or whatever this is, something like that. What brought you out to this event today is a great one. They're going to say, I came out looking for blah, 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 or we're just shopping, or, you know, I mean, I've even had people tell me they're actually looking for, or, you know, my husband's is looking for a new business. So really find out, I mean, we do a lot of health and wellness expos. People will talk to you about the specific issues they're looking to solve. We're not jumping in with any claims to cure, treat, diagnose, or mitigate. But what we're going to do is help them connect the dots between maybe some of the issues that they're doggedly trying to address and the wireless world in which they live, and how they can address that through these three fundamental pillars with a fabulous company that offers growth, inspiration, and abundance. So I'm just curious, what do you do for a living, or what kind of work do you do? I don't always say, what do you do for a living, but, you know, what field are you in, or what kind of work? I will compliment them, you know, like, you know, whatever, if say, in any way that I can. If there's something like, oh my gosh, I love your colors, or you just look fabulous today, or you're radiant. I'm just curious, what, you know, what kind of work do you do, or what this, and let them tell you. If you're talking to a chiropractor, if you're talking to a stay-at-home mom, if you're talking to a homeschooling mother, if you're talking to a pilot, you just want to know who you're speaking with. Couples, you want to get to know a little bit about them. They will be intrigued if you ask questions. You know, people think you're really interesting when you ask stuff about them. It's just very interesting. When they tell you stuff, they think you're interesting. So what workshop or speaker did you just attend, or something like that? What, you know, find something to compliment about them. People love being complimented. And really what this means, because it is a very genuine thing we're going to do, that you do, it means you see them. You see something about them that they probably feel really good about. So, and that they know, and the fact that you see something about them that's really true is a gift. That's a gift that you can give to them, and a real blessing. Be prepared to learn something from them. Be prepared to share your own story about GeoWellness, or another story, short. So, you know, when you learn a little bit about them, you're going to engage them, help them connect. I always say I'm a professional dot connector. I help people connect the dots between the state of their health and, you know, maybe their level of inspiration in their lives, and the lifestyle they lead, and the wireless world in which we live. You know, I'm just curious what, you know, what's most interesting to you, and they'll go, oh, well, tell me about this. So I often say I'm a professional dot connector. I will then usually move into speaking somewhat about the three pillars of our health. I mean, GeoWellness, what it stands for, the three pillars of our health, and then I'll share a story. But I'm going to tell you that by the time I do that, I'm going to know enough about them where I can share a story that's going to be relevant, and they're going to, something in them is going to perk up, because it's like, how did she know that was what I needed? So that's something you're looking for. Sue, do you want to say anything there?
No, I just think it's really important that you realize that all the questions you're asking is part of your discovery of who the person is who's in front of you, so that they can begin to, one, trust you and appreciate that you're appreciating them, and that really moves the process closer to them wanting to know more about what kind of value you can offer to them. And that's part of connecting the dots and helping them discover that.
And a key thing, thank you, Sue, key thing here is realize that we're inviting, we may be having the opportunity to present, we may even be sort of following up or kind of moving towards, helping them move towards a decision. So I want to say, be aware of where you are in that process. If somebody's really holding back or whatever, you may still be doing the inviting. You might say, hey, why don't we do a couple demos with the products, because you're going to remember this. And then, if somebody's fairly more reserved, then really all you're doing is asking permission to follow up with them. Someone else, you might be going further. They're going to say, I'm going to go get my husband, or my son, my daughter's got to see this. So kind of some of that stuff. So, and then you may end up with people, I'll tell this, have your antennae up, because when people give you the signals, yeah, I want it, I want this, like, well, how do I get it? What's the pricing? Pull out that Inspired Wellness home sheet and go through the 3 packages, bronze, silver, and gold, that are the most popular, the best value, biggest savings, or show them the price list, explain to them just broadly, you can come on board even with a $250 package at the 20% discount and gives you the membership. So something like that, and help them. They're like, yeah, I want a pendant and a cell guard, or I want to get this package. You'll be, I think all of us know, we've had people who have pretty much been ready to go very, very quickly. So you can get people all the way through occasionally right in that. So anything, Sue, you want to say to that before we go to the next one? I think we are.
No, I think we can go.
Time is of the essence. So is it your turn? Or?
No, well, I think some of this you've actually already addressed, but
Okay.
in that part where we're asking questions and we're discovering about them, we're actually making the personal connection, and you're building a relationship. And as you're doing that, you need to, as I said before, your awareness levels around how that actually can show them value. So you're going to build a bridge with the information you've discovered. You're going to build that bridge to what GIA has to offer them, so that we can show them what kind of value GIA can bring to their life. And that is connecting the dots, as Ming said, going through the 360 degree. But one of the things that's really important is when you're doing the 360 degree process of showing them the different parts of GIA, you really want to focus mostly on the area that they told you that they are interested in. Otherwise, you may risk getting them confused, or driving them in a different direction and going out of focus. So it's really important that you keep them interested in the area which they told you were interested in, and that sort of keeps you protected from giving them way too much information that drives them in a different direction or into confusion.
And I think we're a little pressed for time, Sue, and I wanted to do a little role play.
Okay.
I don't know. How many more slides do we have, John? Is it there just like 1 or 2? Oh, yeah. Is that? Oh, yeah, we better move. Okay. So we could do that maybe on a different Zoom, but it very simply, I literally say to people, like, you look curious. And, Sue might respond, yeah, so we could, you want to do one right now that's like 1.5 minutes?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So you
Ming?
look curious. Yeah.
Go.
I'm just going to say, excuse me, you look curious.
Well, I am.
What got your attention?
Well, what caught my attention is that banner with the baby on it, and all those bubbles next to it. And it talks about water, and then over there you have something about cell guards. How I don't understand. How do they connect? What does that mean?
Well, let me just say, my name's Ming Lovejoy. It's a pleasure to meet you. What's your name? And can I just ask?
Yeah, Sue Gronberg. Yeah, I'm
Sue,
hi,
what kind of work do you do? What field are you in? What type of?
Well, I've been in the wellness industry for a lot of years, but I'm just kind of really want to protect my family from, you know, any kind of ill effects of the environment. And that's why I'm kind of here.
Okay, so you're one of those progressive, sort of forward-thinking, preventive medicine type person, is that right?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, sure.
So what kinds of things are you doing for your health?
Well, I try to eat well, and I drink plenty of good, clean water. And, you know, I like to stay fit. I kind of do that.
And do you and your family, I'm just curious, any particular issues you all are dealing with?
Uh, Not really, you know, but I have been concerned about, I see the cell phone thing that, you know, I have been concerned about, but I don't really know a whole lot about it.
Well, Sue, thank you for sharing that. And I'll just say really what I do, I call myself a professional dot connector. All I do is connect the dots between maybe some of the issues you're facing or some of the concerns you have. And you said you're concerned about kind of all this exposure and to, you know, cell phones and this type of thing. Well, I help people connect the dots between, you know, those concerns or even issues they might be dealing with and the wireless world in which we live. And what Gia Wellness has is a comprehensive approach to helping people thrive in the wireless age. The 21st century is different than the 20th century. Have you noticed that?
I have, you know, this is really interesting, Ming, but you know what, I've got to get off to another speaker event, and I'd like to know more, but I really have to go.
Well, Sue, why don't you just fill this out? That way I can, I'll make sure to have your information. It takes a few, you know, it could take a few bites of information for you or a few information feeds. I really work with people at the level they're at and what they're interested in, helping take them through a process of information. And it's all about you. How about fill this out for me?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. And would you be available if I follow up with you early next week?
Sure, I may even stop back later.
Okay, Sue, stop back later and let's do some product demos. You want to do that?
Okay,
Some super
let's
fun
do
stuff? Then you'll actually remember what these things feel. So anyway, something like that. Okay, so should we move to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay, follow up. Is it my turn? Your turn. I keep forgetting. I'm so excited.
It doesn't really much matter. I'll just say, you know, it's really important to, now that you have all this information that you've collected, and that is really important. Try not to let people leave without giving you permission to use their contact information and follow up with them. And, you know, within 24 or 48 hours, and it could be something simple with a just quick phone call, a text, an email, Facebook Messenger, just to check in and ask for the next step. And there's many other resources that you can use. Ming, I think you wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to turn it over to you there.
That is, you know, one thing just in back, if you can just squeeze in, and I meant to say it, I put it on the slide and I didn't say it when we did our role play, really what, you know, GIA stands for growth, inspiration, and abundance. And it's growth in our health and well-being with these phenomenal transformational products. Also inspirational programs and generous give back to the community programs, particularly with teenagers and underprivileged kids. And also a very generous reward program for people who are interested in sharing product solutions like this, or even, you know, creating some additional income. So I like to say that when I can. I'll say it as I just dropped a seed in their, you know, field. And we'll just see what people pick up on. Follow up in 24 to 48 hours, their excitement and the energy, the emotion is going to be highest, especially if they're, you know, if they're really thinking about doing something. Well, either way, you want to follow up soon, because that's when they're going to remember the experience at the booth. When you do follow up, always say, I'm Ming. We met at the Gia Wellness booth. Do you remember we did that fun testing with the pendant or the water? We have that. Always say who you are, whether you're texting, private messaging. If they went to hundreds of booths or scores of booths, they might have forgotten what Gia Wellness was. You just want to say, you know, who you were. Phone, text, email, Facebook Messenger. Use the Gia resources. The Vimeo video process now is best, while the Gia Freedom site is getting revamped. Really, the videos that I'm using and recommending that team use are on vimeo.com/iFitZone. your website links, invite to Zoom, to wake-up call, three-way validation, making appointment for one-on-one, Zoom or in person, whatever way you can follow up and help them through this process. Super important. This was, I want to say, the biggest, most valuable takeaway for me, Sue, from your follow-up talk at the event, and is that it'll take a lot of the stress out of this for everyone. I think a lot of new consultants are like, "Wow," right? I mean, we just get a little overwhelmed. Guess what? All you do is follow up for the next appropriate step for them. What is their next step? What is the question they have? Do they need shoring? Do they need to know more about the company? Do they need to know more about, the Moms on a Mission Inspired Wellness Home? Do they want to know more about the product technologies? Do they want to know about the business? What do they want to know about? So whatever that next step is, if they're a little curious and they seem like they're a kind of more social person, a three-way call. I say three-way call with everybody, but just what is the next step for them? What is their interest? At some point, don't be afraid of those words. I'm just curious. Are you ready to get started? Guess what? They're going to say yes or they're going to say no. And you might be surprised, especially as new consultants, because sometimes people say, or they're afraid if you say yes, because then they don't know what to do. Just if they're yes, that's great. Just say, okay, I'm brand new. I barely know what to do. Let me just work with you. Are you ready to get started? No. I'm just curious. What is it that, I know you're interested, but tell me well, I need to know more about this. I need to ask my husband. I need to check my bank account or transfer money, or I'm waiting for this. So that's it. So that's absolutely, remember that objections are just questions. So if somebody has an objection, go, yay, and figure out what the question is, and arrange for their next step. That's the process, and the fortune is in the follow-up. Anything, or should we move on? Because I know we're moving on. We're
good.
Remember your new, okay, so this is, let's say once you've gotten through, let's say you actually have signed them up at your booth or expo. Remember, your new consultant is wet behind the ears. They're just born, and they are precious and like a tender little shoot. They are still a prospect. They might even have some buyer's remorse when they go home, so realize they might even need more support than somebody who's just a prospect. What did I do? They go home and their husband or their son or daughter goes, Mom, what'd you do? So they need support, they need information, they need orientation, continued follow-up. And this is where I say, invite, present, follow up, and then engage, expose, and encourage. So that's what we're going to do. We have to remember these things. Was there anything else? Was there another slide? I think that was it. Okay. Well, then that's it. Sue, did you have any postscripts, PSs, or anything, or do we have? And I know we're kind of over time.
No, I think we covered everything that we talked about, and unless other people have questions or anything like that.
Let me just say this. Thank you, guys. Unbelievable that you put this much work in, and I asked you to do, if you would do this like mid-morning. So great job. We've been wanting this for so long, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions. So we're going over tonight, and so if you want to go for it. This will be recorded. But if you want to stick around and ask some questions, we're good with that too. Is that okay with you, Ming?
It is. I just got a signal that my internet connection is unstable. So if something happens, it's my poor internet right now.
Okay, great. I have one question before we go to the questions. Now, of the percentage of people that you two have sponsored in your organization, that you've sponsored, what percentage came from booths?
Ooh.
Oh.
Well, if I just went by the last 3 months, I would say, could easily be up there well above 50%.
Thanks, Ming?
Exactly. I was going to say 50 to 80% at this point of the ones I'm sponsoring. I sponsor, and I do, whether it's a booth every month or every couple months or things like that. It's a very, very wise, and it's a very good way to grow your team.
It worked. Okay, so who has a question? Just unmute and come on and ask the question. Anybody?
Well, I had a comment, actually. I mean, ladies, this was amazing. I mean, and to know that you put this together since mid-morning. And actually, it's only evening time at your end. I'm ready to go to bed at my end of the world. So bravo on that. One thing I do want to say to others as well is I love doing booths as well. As you know, I've done quite a few lately. And having someone to work a booth with is definitely helpful. The last one I did on my own. But staying organized. I mean, I've literally brought it up here with me. Oops, I'm going to slide it out here. I call it my booth basket. And I have all the different booths that I had, and they're all clipped together, etc. And I have a little system because you do end up with hundreds of contacts. And mine's only a little basket. I can only imagine the size of what the two of you have. So again, thanks so much for tonight.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to say there's some people, I mean, contact management systems are great. I still literally take my Yes, Tell Me More, staple them or paper clip them to a page and write notes. And that is, I'll just tell you, the confessions of a one-star presidential director at this point. So, and every conversation I have with them, I will, these are forms. I will literally staple this to a full page, and I'll put the date, followed up, called them, left a message, called them, spoke about X, Y, invited them to Monday Night Zoom, or, you know, blah, 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 whatever those things are. Sue, you want to say
Yeah,
anything?
and I just want to say I do something similar, and I honestly, very rarely do I throw them away. I have those clipped together like you, Sue, but I also have found that I've actually reconnected with people that I've been met at a booth 3 or 4 years ago, and they have come on board or at least purchased product. So those are valuable leads.
I keep them forever. Yeah.
Yep.
I have mine.
do.
In fact, oh, sorry, interrupt.
No, I do. Are, you know, constant contact, that's another one. There's a number of them that are available online if you want to use it online, or an application for keeping your contacts.
Georgia, you have a question?
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to say that this was amazingly helpful and inspiring. And, you know, I'm thinking, I can do that. I can do booths. Instead of like beating my head against the wall, things that I'm really not suited for. But I also wanted to ask, you know, if you're traveling by plane and you've got all the booth stuff, how do you manage all that?
Well, sometimes we send them various venues have, you know, an organized way for you to send them ahead of yourself, you know, via or other or FedEx. Otherwise, sometimes we just take them on a plane with us. That's, you know, it is something that is a cost that you incur, but well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to make a comment. You guys rocked it. And we just did it. Carol and I did a booth yesterday, and they have classes in between. So there's lulls, and then there's rushes and lulls and rushes. And the lulls, we didn't actually have to do this yesterday, believe it or not. We had so many people, but the lulls are a great time to find out who else is there at their own booths, people who are super entrepreneurial and don't know about our dots, how we're going to connect the dots with what they're doing. And it's just amazing how many people over the years of doing booths that are in my organization that they were also vendors at the same event.
Yeah, did we lose Ming?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Wanting me to comment?
no, I was just going to respond, but I know that
you go
true
ahead.
for us as well.
Yeah.
The vendors are often your great prospects. So thank you, Kedzie.
You're
know,
welcome.
there was another question that I saw. I think Kathleen said,
Yeah,
how do you...
Sue, I was saying I was typing the answer to that, but maybe we can just
Oh,
address
okay,
it.
great. No,
Yeah, why don't we just address it? Her question is, how do you reconnect with people you haven't talked to in a few years? What I do is literally just call them up or text them and like, hi, Mary, you know, this is Ming with Geo Wellness. You know, I remembered you. You were so much fun back at the, you know, Rebecca Farms or whatever that is, or the Expo a few years ago. You might say you bought a cell guard, or I know you were interested in, and I'll use her languaging or the thing she was interested in. I know you really wanted to get one of those pendants or blah, blah, blah. And I've been thinking about you because our company is just expanding, especially with all this news about blah, blah, blah of interest to her. So just call her up or text her or do whatever. Just reach out.
Yep. Reach out, and private messaging these days really works well. And I say similar things, but those are, Facebook or private messaging is a good way to go as well.
And you could, right, if you do Facebook or private message or even in a text, you could send something that would be probably not in a text right away. If you haven't talked to somebody for a few years, I wouldn't send a link because it can seem salesy. But if there's some special event coming up, like, oh my goodness, you won't believe the CEO of our company or our co-founder was just selected one of 10 global phenomenal women, and she's actually doing a Facebook Live or a Zoom event on Thursday night. And I just think you would, I remember your enthusiasm or this or that, and I think you'd love this. I'd love to invite you. Something like whatever, invite them to something or just reconnect, with that. But one of the things in your follow-up, I always say, is always make sure you're following up, providing value, because if you're following up and they feel like, oh my God, I have to talk to this person because they want my credit card or they want me to buy something, which is often what they think, you want to make sure that that is like not even, you're like calling them because you want to provide some value to them or give them something. So that's really important. Okay.
Well, we're coming up to an hour now, and I'm so glad.
Okay, we better
But it's okay. It's okay. I think it's great information. I was just thinking about what you're saying is also, I would say, connect them to your social media as much as you possibly can, because when they're connected on Facebook and they use Facebook, you're going to have a lot of people out there you're connecting to. So that's another thing.
Well, John, thank you. I forgot to say that that's what we ask now at the booth. Can I invite you to our Moms on a Mission, the Wireless Safety Moms on a Mission Facebook pages? We've got these amazing Facebook pages. So absolutely key. And part of your follow-up is you go home and you friend them, say, I'm going to friend request you, blah, 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 and I'm going to invite you to this page. And then you're going to be able to actually read all about this stuff from verified purchasers. You know how when you buy something from Amazon, you want to get a review from somebody who's actually used it? Well, you're going to see that. So anyway, wonderful. Okay.
Great. Well, I know everybody appreciates you guys so much for doing this. And now we have this recorded, so you can go back to it. It'll be on the YouTube Geo Wellness John site under Pathway to Abundance. All of our trainings will be there. And now when people ask in the future, hey, how do we do a booth? Now you can send them this video and they can learn, and we can look at it over and over again. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Let's everybody give them my hand. Good job. We'll be back next week. We're going to continue on talking about how to find people. And next week I want to focus on networking events. And we'll find a couple of experts in the networking area that are going to help us to learn how to do successful networking. Deal? Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. It's a great time to be a part of Geo Wellness. See you guys.
Bye.